there are quite a number of sectors, I should say. Getting to one by one would really take time. But maybe let's look at as someone who is starting up small. As, for example, maybe the small and medium companies for that particular person.
Yes, I mean, let me just talk bread. Okay, you want to set up a bakery, or you want to set up a farm, a small farm. But let's start with a bakery. Now, this is a bakery that I don't know a lot about the inputs into the bakery, but then I'm going to try. You will need equipment that helps you to make the dough. You get the flour, you buy it, and then you need the dough. You need to make the dough. Then you need to do to pack it. You need to pack the bread. What else you need to do? To brand it. There are many dynamics in there. Now, before you even get to URA, there are certain things that, as a businessman or a businesswoman who intends to live in the market, thrive, and pass on the business to your kids, things that you must do. Register your business. Go to Uganda Registration Services Bureau and register that business. I do not want to confuse your bread with another person's bread. So if I like that bread, and if you really intend on staying in this market, register that business. Get a business name. Give a name to your queen cakes and to your bread and to your everything.
Even if I'm mixing my liquid soap from home?
Yes.
My fresh juice?
Yes.
I give it a name, get one to register?
Yes. Give it a name. That is one. Now, if I am going to trust your product, the next thing is I need to know where to find you.
Very true.
You must have a location. And so if you have a location, it means your area of operation, you need a trading license. So the KCCA, the municipal authority, the local government of your area needs to license you to operate. Now we are dealing in maybe bread. I know there is a license or a certificate that authorities give to people who deal in making food. Okay? There is that health certificate that is usually given to people. So have all that. You know, we are not even yet talking tax. I don't know whether you realize. Yeah? Because I need a business that stands tall, a business that will thrive this year, live through COVID and the next years. And all these that I'm talking about, by the way, are costs that we shall have to subtract, to take off before we begin talking tax, because you are going through the registration cost, you're going through the license cost, you're going through the accumulation of this equipment in order to make income from that business, and thereafter pay tax on that income. So the costs that I'm talking about are tax deductible. Before we look at any profit that is going to come out of that enterprise, they will be tax deductible. And so after you have that, then come to Uganda Revenue Authority and register for a taxpayer identification number. Now we'll give you this number, even if you register on the website ura.go.ug. All we need from you.
It doesn't take like forever maybe or something.
Download the Excel forms from our website, fill them and submit. You will get your tax identification number, the TIN, in 2 days. It won't go beyond a week at most. So 2 days, you have your tax identification number. Now, that is the number that you will be using in all your operations as a business. If you are importing this bread, I mean the flour to make your bread, use that number. If you are exporting, use that number. There are many things here that you need to look at, but the main thing is use the same number. If you are buying, paying for umeme, paying for any expense, use that number such that if you are to enjoy any benefits like deductible costs, we shall refer them to that number. Now you look at people who are small businesses and they are involved, for example, maybe in importing, you import the flour. When it gets here, there is withholding tax that you paid at the border. You get it? Because we think your business doesn't pay tax. Now, the moment your imports get here, your flour and maybe your equipment, we can refund that tax. If you used your TIN, your number. Now, the moment you get this bread and you say, I'm exporting it to Southern Sudan, we will not tax. If you apply for the exemption, we shall not tax your profits. Your profits, if you're dealing into majorly exports, over 80% of your outputs, we don't tax.
Is it possible for me to acquire that number even if I'm not an entrepreneur?
Very well, because it's a right. Anyone who is dealing in any economic activity, anyone who intends to exchange a vehicle, to transfer land, and to go into transactions of the kind, you need to have a tax identification number. It's very, very important for you because it helps you to keep that record. Just imagine a guy has been paying, for example, has been paying tax on his border every year, 20,000 per passenger. Okay? It is very hard for you to wake up and tell that person this border is not yours. Because I have been paying tax for my bike. And so you cannot wake up and tell me it's not mine. So paying tax in most a way, it's defense on what you own, that's one. Two, shows how responsible a citizen you are. Three, it gives you offsets beyond what you're able to see. Like I said, if you look at an employee who is deducted tax at source when they are being paid their salary, when it comes to importing your car, this salary was deducted tax already. So we refund you the withholding tax when you're importing your car using the same money that you use to buy from the salary. So it is these dynamics that people are into maybe employment, but would also like to branch out into entrepreneurship because...
So later the number is a benefit in a number of ways.
Yes.
So let's get to the what is making people sit on their toes. That is to do with taxes, returns, that particular language.
I would say ignorance. Yes, most of our entrepreneurs love very much to know about poultry. I know, they know about these croilers, they know broilers, they know all the kinds of chicken that I don't know. They know the best food to source, they know the best medicine, they know the best markets. They don't know how much tax to pay on that business. You don't know that business. If you know everything about your business as an entrepreneur and you don't know how much tax that business has to pay, and you have to rely on another person to tell you how much tax to pay, you don't know that business. Because entrepreneurship is profit-driven. You want profit. But remember, tax is on profit. And if you do not take time to understand the variable that directly affects your profit, you get it? Because entrepreneurship, you're focusing on making profit. And tax reduces profit. And for you, your focus is to make big profit without understanding tax, a variable that reduces profit. It means whatever you collect is just seeping through the cracks. You don't understand the dynamics. So it is really, really important that when you are investing into any sector, you understand to encourage you not to pay, but to encourage you to only pay what you have to pay. And what has to go back to the business to reinvest should go back to that business.
But at the end of the day, you sustain yourself.
You sustain yourself. And as a tax authority, that's why we are changing strategy and we are seeing ourselves as a business enabler. When you look at our paradigm, the way operational model in customs, we are looking at ourselves as business enablers. How long does it take a truck to leave Mombasa up to Kampala, up to Nakawa? Should the reasons for delay be around the tax processes that URA deploys? If it is that, we need to reduce that. You cut it from this number of days maybe to hours and a few days. So that is where it is as a business enabler. That is how the tax authority needs and is looking at itself. So how entrepreneurs look at that and the benefits there, right, how they plan to leverage them and make their enterprises better is the discussion, the gist of this discussion. Many enterprises, you find entrepreneurs who have their markets in Congo. Congo. They will tell you that majority of my customers, clients are in Congo. You talked about the other wholesaler also. Why don't you, when you choose to operate in Uganda, why don't you apply to operate under a free zone, such that you import things into Uganda without them paying tax, and the moment you export them and they leave Uganda without dropping an item in Uganda, those items go without paying tax. That is the kind of knowledge and it's the depth of discussion that entrepreneurs need to have.
Wow, it's quite interesting, and I love the way you're putting it out, and I believe someone who's already watching is following it up. You talked about the trucks.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. How is the clearance done? Because we know you're at a campaign to reduce the days, because way back it would take like weeks and weeks for someone to acquire their merchandise or to acquire their goods. How is clearance done?
Okay, let's first talk about our small guy.
Okay.
The Mutua Wansi.
I know.
Yes, because we have our entrepreneurs who downtown. That guy brings in.
And they transact every single day.
Items, and for them we've created what we call a simplified regime. They import small quantities or export small quantities. They have their items that for which they have special clients in Juba, special clients maybe in Dubai. There are people who love their matoke. So he packs his boxes, exports them, or imports particular small things. We have a simplified regime, because if you tell this person that hire a clearing agent, it's like you're telling them, do this business, but whatever profits you get, pay them to the other guy, who is a clearing agent. So there are businesses where employing a clearing agent is really, really expensive. And so these we encourage to operate under a simplified regime. But that's when your volume of items is around $2,000 or less. $2,000 or less. That's vaguely what, 7 million? We have those people who deal in such merchandise. Okay? So my advice to you is get your items, get to a customs point, see a URA officer, okay, at the export, the customs desk, declare your items. They will help you generate an entry. They will generate for you a payment slip, okay, without going into the deep dynamics. You go pay, and then the procedure sees you through without seeing what? An agent. Then we have circumstances where the volumes are really large. Okay. You're a big client, you're a big exporter, you're a big importer. And for these, the regime across the entire East African community demands that you hire a customs clearing agent. Now, these are guys that we every year vet, and we release a new list. Every year you will go and find a new list of clearing agents. Now, you appoint this guy. Don't give them your password. We've seen many business people give away their password. No. Log into your URL website account and appoint this person as your agent for a period. You can say, I expect this person to conclude my business within 2 weeks. So you say, I'm appointing you, Michael Masembe, as my agent. Team is this, from today 16 for the next 2 weeks. And if you fall out with that agent, so to say, you can go back and deactivate them, and you appoint another agent. So you appoint this agent who will assist you to lodge your items into the URL website. Okay? After they have lodged, the items are given a value according. There are many classifications, bands for items. Vehicles, it's different. Textiles, it's different. So I may not go into the depth of that. Yes, but the agent will help you to declare the items to URA. The payment comes to you. So the agent taking the money away from you, that they are going to pay that tax, shouldn't be something that anyone should really, really be comfortable with. When the agent declares on your behalf, all the expectations to make payments and the ensuing procedures will give you notification. So the agent is going to pay maybe 5 million taxes, or that is the assessment he is able to get you. This will be sent to your team, to your email. You proceed and pay. the agent will actually get notification that the payment has been done and the processing will be done. The major challenge usually happens when the items are not properly declared. These are TVs of 21 inches? They are Sony, and then someone, yes, they are 40, and then the agent will advise you on something that really looks very good, that instead of 40, let us declare 20. Instead of 21 inches, let us declare, is there anything below 21 inches? Okay, maybe 16 inches if there is a number like that for TVs, such that the tax is less. Now, remember, when you are found in this misdemeanor, the misdeclaration, and there is tax to be paid with penalties and interest, the agent is not going to suffer the cost. You are the entrepreneur. And now tax is already a cost, and it is fetching you another cost in form of a fine and interest. And those are dynamics, those are challenges that I wouldn't like our entrepreneurs to find themselves into. Businesses that have been thriving and paying their taxes very well, getting enticed into malpractice, under-declaring, misdeclaring, and then you find the enterprise has to fork out a lot of money to pay tax fines.
So that they stabilize it.
Yes, and you will realize tax fines are not even tax deductible. You cannot go to URA as you declare your income tax and you say minus this expense of a tax fine. No. You get it? Yet the expense minus the cost or the expense of water is allowed. Maybe minus the cost of paying that agent to do your work is allowed. But minus the expense of a fine, no, it is not allowed. So don't heap more costs onto your business. Try to do the right thing. One, as an entrepreneur, do what our other trading colleagues in the country are doing. Consult. If you know this pen is very cheap outside, if you know this pen is very cheap outside, it is cheap. But come to URA and ask, if I were to import 1,000 boxes of this pen, how much tax would it attract? Yes. Such that before you bring it, a pen that did cost you 100 shillings, and because of tax it is double the price, does not shock you.
Anyway, no shortcuts at the end of the day. Yes. I'll take you back with that regarding that particular explanation. Yes. Earlier on you talked about the customs. For a viewer out there who is asking themselves, what are customs?
Thank you. Customs, you will find in other countries it's very different. It's a different operation from the tax authority, because we have internal taxes, which was previously called the Department of Internal Revenue, where we have domestic taxes like VAT, rental income tax, income tax. Now with customs, don't think about those. With customs, we are talking about taxes dealing with import and export. When you see import-export, then we are talking about customs, border control. Customs as a department in Uganda Revenue Authority, like I stated earlier, is mainly to facilitate trade. Merchandise destined outside Uganda should get to the markets as fast as possible. Merchandise destined for Uganda should get into the country as fast as possible. Guys in Uganda borrow to import. The traders down in Chikubo, Chiembe, they borrow to import. The earlier, the faster the merchandise gets here, the faster it is sold off and the faster it is for them to clear the loan and go back to the market to buy more merchandise. So we've actually seen some of the traders, they want even to sell things while they are still in the warehouse. You get it? Because they want merchandise to get as fast as possible to the markets. So customs is about border control, cross-border trade management and facilitation, especially in the context of regional trade. Now, for URA and for Uganda in particular, the role of customs is beyond the normal role as you may find it outside. Now, for us, we look at customs again in terms of preservation, controlling. We've seen many people trying to take out our precious, maybe gorillas and species. I'll talk about what I know. Precious ivory from our animals killed and taken out. That kind of preservation is one of the things that we do. Protecting our community, that fake items do not come in. And it's at that point, I don't know whether you've been keen to look at the digital tracking solutions that we've deployed working with UNBS. It is part of the customs job to see that merchandise that is getting into Uganda is fit for consumption by Ugandans. So it is the effort still that we've worked on with UNBS to see that certain items that are getting into Uganda have this digital tracking solution stamps, the digital stamps, to confirm that, yes, that drink that you're importing into Uganda is being checked by UNBS and meets the consumption standards that we have set as a country. So that is part of the work that customs does. The other is for you to understand trade volumes, because a lot of merchandise goes through Uganda. Goods come through, some are destined for Rwanda, Congo, others into Juba. How do you know the volume of trade that is coming into Uganda? How do you know that Ugandans lately import more of this product and we need to promote more of its local production so we save the foreign exchange? So customs gives us the stats. It tells us about the dynamics in trade and the volumes, and this guides in policy formulation. So broadly, in many words, as I have put it, that is customs. It is very, very dynamic trade. Our borders are in some places are porous, so some people find it easy to put some items on a bike and smuggle them inside, but it is the role, it's the work that we have to do to see that goods that get into the country are fit to get into the country for consumption. That is one. Two, the goods have paid tax, because if those goods don't pay tax, it means they are coming in to outcompete the locally produced goods. And that kills our local manufacturer. It kills our local entrepreneur. Because if you bring in goods that haven't paid tax to compete with the local goods that have paid tax, then you're killing the natural flow in the ecosystem. Yes.
In those very many words, like you had put it. Yes. But I believe the entrepreneur following up there has picked at least one or two things. If you just joined us, you're watching Entrepreneurs Hub right here on UBC. My name is Sandra. I'm having a wonderful guest, Michael, right here from URA. Now, I know you've shared quite a number of tips or issues that the entrepreneur out there needs to know as far as transacting is concerned in a nation. Maybe when it comes to the financial management skills for the SMEs, what would you highlight for those that are existing and maybe those that are coming up?
Most of our entrepreneurs are people like me and you. They are individual businesses. We've had financial literacy classes. We've worked with Bank of Uganda, we've worked with municipal governments, KCCA, local government units. And you know, how we started out was through engagements. You come to teach people about value-added tax, and then you realize value-added tax is not their problem. Their problem is basic record keeping. And that is where tools like IFRIS, as you've seen, the fiscal receipting and invoicing solutions, they come in handy, because the new entrepreneur doesn't have to struggle with the pen and paper to keep records. There is an automated system on phone or on their computer to keep that record. But like I started, the challenges of most of our business persons are actually far from tax. The challenges are within ignorance, record keeping, personal financial management, you know, knowing that I have this money, I run this shop, but this money should not pay school fees. It is money for the shop. You get it? Knowing that I've taken this loan for business, and so I shouldn't be excited to go and use it to pay dowry. You get it? Personal financial management. So those are things that our businesses, our business operators have not really keenly embraced. And it's where we found a gap, and we've worked with Bank of Uganda. Many URA officers who are out teaching people have been trained as financial literacy trainers to make sure that before we talk tax, we inform our entrepreneurs about what they need to sustain their businesses. Personal financial management, very key. Saving. You know, even during COVID, somehow Ugandans remained happening people. Saving as a culture is not very, very founded. It's not very grounded within our that is usually what people say. It's even tomorrow there will be more money to do what? To make. So that kind of culture we need to really do away with, and it's a challenge that we have met with people who have made money, but they haven't saved this money to meet future costs. Like, you can make money now, but your obligations to pay tax may be in 4 months. Are you able to save that money and pay tax 4 months after? Or are you able to save money and pay tuition for your child after? So saving, these are a bit far from tax. Managing your finances, saving the money, and then investing. Am I investing in what I think or what I see everyone investing in? See, there is when mobile money was the thing, and everybody was opening up a kiosk for mobile money. And then it is a thing that happened, and then those who really set out stayed in the business. Lately, you'll find many mobile money stalls that are just vacant. It's a table and chair that is labeled with certain numbers of every teleco was doing mobile money. It's no longer doing it. Okay, I know circumstances have hit certain people out of the market, but there are those that jumped in because of the throng, the bandwagon of mobile money, Akola, and therefore you should also go in. So the investment decisions that we make, do we make them because everyone is in, or, and then if you're choosing to invest, where, maybe if you're choosing to invest and you're borrowing, where should you borrow? Where should you borrow? There are certain banks that are very good for you to go in and borrow for agricultural enterprises. And there are certain banks that have very good products if you're going to borrow for business, retail, wholesale, and so on. So where do you choose to borrow when you are borrowing? And what are the implications? What are the sources? How do you decide how you're going to source the money for the investment? Are you going to go into, choose your friends and you do a rotational, where you give me, I give you, I give you, and you get it, no interest. Okay? Or are you going into a circle? The bank may not be the place for you, because the circle may be alive to your daily circumstances of every week, going and paying what you can.
They will be patient.
Yes, they may be patient with you. You will find others where they allow group lending. So as Michael, I don't have enough security as Michael to be trusted by, yes. But when I gather my 5 colleagues around my locality and we present ourselves as a team, we can be lent money as a group. So where you choose to source money is also another option. So when we look at investment and Those are tips that I think businesses need to look at. And so the choice of your financial service provider, the bank you're choosing, is it a bank that is far from you? Is it an accessible bank? There are dynamics that you need to look at in that. The costs of the financial institution you're going into. You need to look into all these if you are to really make an enterprise that will stand the test of time. And after that enterprise has really stood the test of time, then we can talk about tax. You get it? That is when Michael will come and tell you, by the way, this enterprise might have some tax obligations to meet. There is what we call rental income tax, there is what we call presumptive tax. And so that is when the discussion ensures, when there is income generated, when there is a profit made, then we can talk about tax. So when you ask me about the tips that I would give any business person, managing your finances, saving, where do you choose to source the money? Where do you choose to invest it? Because the choice of investment decisions is very, very important. The money that you use now and the money that you use tomorrow, those are very, very, very important decisions that any entrepreneur needs to look at. Why? Because most of Uganda's enterprises are sole proprietor enterprises. They are run by a Michael Masembe, few of them. If you look at the URA register, if I'm not so far from them, it's I think over 90%. Over 90% of the registered people, persons on the URA database are individual persons running businesses, you and me.
Well, I believe you have quite a number of success stories, so many tips, and the entrepreneur can visit your website as well. URA as a body has always given back to the taxpayers. I mean, we've seen it in a number of events and what you've been organizing throughout the years or throughout the seasons. Tell us more about Kakasa that is coming up.
Thank you. Kakasa has come at the backdrop of SME interventions that the URA has deployed lately. We started with an appreciation season, I think a year ago, for SMEs. See, we had over the years appreciated many businesses for paying the highest amount of tax, businesses for being the top compliant enterprises in the country. But then we got to a point where we realized that yes, we have big businesses paying big tax, but when you look at the ecosystem in the economy, there are many business operators who are small and contributing to business or contributing to income in the economy. And so that's when we organized an appreciation season for SMEs in the country. Fast forward, among the challenges that we identified, like I told you earlier, was bookkeeping. Bookkeeping remains a big challenge for businesses in Uganda. And within Kakasa, and the challenges that have really disturbed businesses, are three major solutions that we think would attend to the major challenges that our businesses, especially SMEs, are facing. One is voluntary disclosure. Many businesses have not paid tax. They haven't paid tax, intentionally or unintentionally. They haven't paid tax. But right now, if you tell such a business person that you have to pay this tax that you have not paid for the past 3 years and pay the penalty and interest, it is like telling that business person that pack your bags and go. Because they will get into their capital and all their merchandise, sell it, and give you the tax that you need, and there will be no enterprise left. So where does voluntary disclosure come in? We are saying businesses that have not been able to meet their obligations in the past are given the leeway not to pay interest and penalty. As long as they come and declare to URA that for the past year I have not paid my rental income tax, or I did not register, or I committed this error, this misdemeanor, this misstatement in terms about the obligations that I had to fulfill. And this had me required to pay 500,000 shillings as tax. So we tell you, just pay the principal tax that you were supposed to pay. Don't pay us penalty, don't pay us interest. We want your business to stay in function, we need it to keep running, and that is the voluntary disclosure program. We tell businesses to come and enjoy that freedom of not paying interest and penalty. Only pay what you're supposed to pay. And we shall start a clean sheet. And we shall, but now this comes when it is actually done in good faith. Yes, you need to do it in good faith. Trust me. Because you don't have to see us inviting you for an inspection, an audit, or inviting you or informing you we're coming to inspect, or you don't have to see us trying to look into the affairs of your business partner, and then you know, oh, if these people are looking into Michael, we are in the same business with this person, it means automatically they will find me. No. You should not be in circumstances where we are fishing you out. You have to come out, yes, like you see this message on UBC TV, and you say, I have rental tax obligations I have not met. Let me walk to URA, go to their website, download this form and fill, and show the tax I haven't paid. I pay only that tax, no interest, no penalty. Now, any viewer may think, okay, but why do I have to pay this principal? Because if they are saying amnesty, I shouldn't pay everything. Yes, but there are people like you who, for the time you did not pay tax, duly paid their tax. So we need to see you also come and you pay this principal. So we meet in the middle. You get it? So we meet in the middle. Meet the principal that you didn't pay, because your other colleagues who are in the same trade like you paid their due. So it's part of the, yes, it's part of the cautions that we have put as a tax agency to absorb the shocks of the COVID pandemic. So it is the voluntary disclosure program as part of the CACASA, and we say CACASA that your business is in good health. So it benefits all of us. Yes. Now the other thing is about IFRIS, the electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing solution. Okay. I talked about voluntary disclosure. Yes. Where open URA, and that is done. IFRIS, issue your invoices and record your transactions using an electronic gadget. Issue those receipts via a computer, especially now for voluntary, for value-added tax taxpayers. If you register for value-added tax, starting 1st January 2021, you have been required to issue electronic invoices. Now, if anyone, you entrepreneurs, if you're watching, don't buy anything from anyone where you know there is a charge for value-added tax and that person doesn't give you an electronic invoice or an e-receipt. Ask for an e-receipt or an invoice, because we shall not accept the expense. We shall not allow that expense when you're showing us a receipt that was written with a pen and paper. So with the electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing solution, IFRIS, we are saying no more paper receipts and invoices. They should be issued electronically. If it is electronic and it has been printed out on paper, it's okay. But it should go through an electronic gadget like a phone and a computer. And for the digital tracking solution, which is the third, I talked about voluntary disclosure, where we create an amnesty. We have that period where you don't have to pay. We have talked about the electronic fiscal receipting, where you issue electronic invoices. Digital tracking solution means when you buy water, it should have a digital stamp. It should have a digital stamp. When you buy a cigarette, these very, very beautiful bottles that are spirit-like, the beers.
Colorless one?
Yes. It must, the colorless one. Those ones, you take a sip and it's bitter but sweet, you don't know what to say. Yes. So those ones, they have a digital stamp. There is a digital stamp at the cup. It can be paper or it can be printed on with black numbers on the cap of the drinks or on the cigarettes.
But you have to make sure there's that digital stamp.
You have to make sure. One, the stamp informs you that the item is declared for taxes. Two, the stamp tells you that the item is fit for standards set by UNBS. Right now we are onboarding, starting April 1st, we are onboarding cement and sugar. So we were just yesterday engaging, last week engaging the operators in the cement and sugar industry. So at the end, we are coming to each product, and we are coming to every taxpayer to make sure that the items that are on the market have digital stamps. With this applied steadily and progressively, we shall find ourselves kicking out all fake items off the market. We shall remain with only genuine manufacturers, because the operators and manufacturers of counterfeits have no access to these digital stamps. It's only the genuine manufacturers who are registered with URA and UNBS and all other regulators that are able to access these stamps. So in a way, if you talk to manufacturers, we are already evening out the business playing field, because all the quacks and counterfeiters
I'm so sure they will not get hold of that particular stamp.
And my friend, the penalties are very punitive on anyone who flouts these guidelines.
Well, that's all we had time for this particular episode, unless Michael has something that is really burning.
It is indeed, and we hope the businesses will pick out a lot. These are tools, voluntary disclosure. It really takes away all the pains that you would have had in penalties and interest. The e-free system enables you to keep track of your electronic records. When you issue invoices to anyone, you automatically get that relayed to URA, but you stay with an electronic copy. So the things of my office has burnt up and I don't have any more records will not be a story in the near future. When you talk digital tracking solutions, it means manufacturers and traders will be able to track their goods from the point of manufacturing. When it gets the stamp, you can trace it to the point it's been consumed. So the issues of guys operating in your shop, manipulating stock and bringing in bottles that were not actually yours, but for you, you come, you find your 10 crates of soda. Yet some were already sold. But the guy, the moment he sells, he restocks. And for you, you don't know that things are being sold, but you're not making profit, because these are being replaced. With digital tracking solutions, you will be able to know that the stock you are selling in my shop, where I pay rent, electricity, and I actually pay you, is not my stock. So these are tools that are very helpful to our entrepreneurs who have not had monitoring mechanisms for what is in their stock and what they are selling, and whether they are buying genuine or counterfeit products. The DTS solution is really a very good answer. We hope that people really adopt to these solutions, because yes, I will not, the taxman benefits,
Humor
but the
and entrepreneur,
yes.
both of us are favored. Well, it's been a healthy conversation, very fruitful, and no bias anymore. I believe the reception is going to change when it comes to the Ugandans out there, the entrepreneurs. When they think about URA, not only think about taxes and the healing mechanism that you put up as far as the pandemic is concerned. Thank you so much, Michael, for your time.
Thank you so much.
Wish you all the best regarding that campaign.
You too.
Well, join me yet again for yet another great episode of the Entrepreneurs Hub, and keep it UBC.